The number looks fake. $34 trillion. That's what the U.S. government owes right now. Add Europe, Japan, China, and the rest, and global government debt pushes past 100 trillion. And yet, nothing stops. Budgets pass, checks go out, markets open Monday morning like everything is normal. So here's the uncomfortable question. If debt works the way we think it does, why hasn't the system collapsed? Because governments are playing a very different game than households, and the rules are not what most people think. This matters now because interest rates are back. Inflation showed up uninvited, and suddenly the math governments ignored for a decade is visible again. Let's slow this down. No jargon, no textbook detours. Start with a simple image. You borrow money from a bank. You promise to pay it back. If you don't, you lose your house. Governments borrow too. They issue bonds, IOUs. Investors lend money. Governments promise to repay later with interest. So far, same story. Here's where it breaks. When a government spends, it doesn't pull money from a savings account. It creates money first, then borrows to manage the consequences. That sounds backwards because it is. In modern systems, governments spend by instructing central banks and commercial banks to credit accounts. Money appears digitally. The borrowing comes after, not before. Debt isn't funding spending, it's absorbing money already created. That's the first hidden mechanism. Now, the obvious objection. If they can just do that, why not spend infinitely? Because of inflation, not bankruptcy. Governments that borrow in their own currency don't run out of money the way people do. They run into prices rising, political pressure, currency credibility. Japan figured this out early. Their debt is over 250% of GDP. That's not a typo. And for decades, nothing exploded. Why? Because most of that debt is owned domestically. The central bank quietly buys a huge share. Interest rates stay low. The system recycles itself. It's strange, but it works. Until it doesn't. Now, zoom out. When governments borrow, they usually don't pay it back like a mortgage. They roll it over. Old bonds expire, new bonds replace them. The debt never dies. It just changes shape. Think of it less like a loan, more like a permanent subscription fee the economy pays to itself. As long as growth keeps up and interest stays manageable, the illusion holds. That's the second mechanism. Debt isn't a bill due tomorrow, it's a balance kept alive indefinitely. But here's the uncomfortable math. When interest rates rise, debt stops being invisible. If a government owes $30 trillion at near zero rates, interest is annoying. At higher rates, it's existential. Interest payments start competing with everything else: defense, healthcare, social programs. You don't default, you inflate, you cut, or you borrow even more. That's the trap. Now for the irony. Markets, the same ones that panic over household debt, often reward governments for borrowing more. Why? Because government bonds are treated as safe by definition. Banks must hold them. Pension funds need them. Central banks backstop them. The system is built to need government debt. No debt means no safe asset, no collateral, no plumbing. So governments keep borrowing not because they're reckless, but because the system quietly demands it. That's the third mechanism. Debt isn't just tolerated, it's required. Now, contrast this with the hype. Politicians argue about debt ceilings like the country is about to max out a credit card. That's theater. The real risk isn't default, it's erosion. Erosion of purchasing power, erosion of trust, erosion of the currency's role in the world. When confidence breaks, it breaks fast. Ask Argentina, ask Turkey, ask any country that borrowed too much in a currency it couldn't control. That's the line governments can't cross. Borrowing in someone else's money. The US, Japan, the UK, they borrow in their own currency. That's the privilege. But even privilege has limits. Because debt is a promise about the future. And the future is getting crowded. Aging populations, lower growth, higher interest costs, political paralysis. The math is quiet, but it's relentless. So why can governments owe trillions and keep spending? Because debt isn't what most people think it is. Because money creation comes first. Because rollover replaces repayment. Because inflation, not bankruptcy, is the real constraint. And because the global financial system is built on government IOUs. The question isn't, can this continue? The question is much darker.